Oh, you can see me. What up, baby? What up? What up?
Oh, sorry. Wow, you have a very nice room. Yeah, very nice.
This is actually my roommate's room because my desk and my setup for like work and stuff are in the like living room area,
Mm.
and we have people over because I think they're gonna go out soon. So um, like, but so I'm like, can I please use your room so I don't like distract anyone slash like make sure like it's like a quiet atmosphere so like you actually can hear me and there's no one in the background. So
No,
yeah,
I appreciate that. Yeah, I actually went out yesterday night in New York. It was pretty fun.
what area you go?
Lower East Side, Manhattan. So,
How far are you from here?
I just take the NJ Transit. So like,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
takes me like about an hour to go to Penn Station and then wherever I
That's
want.
easy. That's easy.
Yeah. So
Sweet.
I realistically like if I wasn't like if I didn't have like class like Tuesday and Friday, I would pull up to McCarran with Chris. But you know,
Yeah, Chris pulled up on Thursday, I think.
yeah, he comes to Rutgers practice sometimes, but we're just there for the vibes.
Fair, makes sense, makes sense.
But yeah, I'm gonna be watching the playoffs after I do this.
Oh, NBA?
Yeah, yeah. I'm
Guess what
gonna
they're doing that's why I'm in here. Because they're
really.
watching the
Oh,
playoffs in the living room right
oh,
now.
they're watching the Lakers. Yeah, Lakers actually my
No,
favorite team.
they're watching Knicks.
Knicks.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Got you. All right, so I have like a an intro. I'm just gonna say like,
Go. Yeah,
and
shoot.
then I'm gonna ask you some questions. It's just gonna be pretty
You're
natural.
good. You're
Okay?
chilling. Go.
All right. Okay. So here we go. Pressure doesn't just test your skill, it changes how your brain works. In sports, we call it choking. That moment where everything you've trained for suddenly feels out of reach. Your timing is off, your reactions slow down, you start thinking instead of playing. But then there are the players who do the opposite, the ones who get sharper, faster, and calmer. So, what's the difference? Today, I'm talking to one of the top Roundnet players in the world, someone known for their elite defensive play, where every point comes down to split second reactions and decision making under immense pressure. And we're going to break down what it actually feels like to compete at that level and what happens in your mind when the game is on the line. This is Choking, the psychology of pressure in sports. All right. So before we get into the psychology side of things, I kind of want to start with you just as an introduction as a
Hmm.
player. And I know it's a little outdated, like the rankings for the USAR rankings, but you're currently ranked number 6 in the US.
Yes.
So from a top player perspective, do you feel like pressure is something that like helps your game or hinders it? Does it ever get in the way?
It's very interesting, I think. I think that um it kind of goes both ways in a lot of different directions. I think that's something, especially this year, I've definitely felt a lot of that, like that pressure aspect. And I think that, I guess to answer the question directly, it very much depends. I think, um, there's certain moments where, like the idea of like playing up versus like playing down is a very interesting and like strange, I guess like circumstance. So sometimes when that pressure comes on a line where like you're expected to win versus you're expected to lose, I think those two play different tricks on my head at least, and I think that it's something I've like very much dealt with and tried to figure out in the past. Um, so I guess for your first answer, I say it depends. I don't know exactly if I should
I
explain that slash like.
I kind of get that because in that sense, I didn't think of pressure as like multi-dimensional. Like really
Mhm.
pressure, it can come in many different ways. It can come in the form of like, oh, you're playing down, so you shouldn't lose this game. You have the pressure of not losing the game. But there's also the pressure of like, okay, you're playing up or you're playing like a really like top level game. So like, I mean, that's I guess the more natural definition of pressure, just like the
Yeah.
high stakes environment.
Yes.
But also like you have like a self image. Like I'm sure people look up to you. Like you can't like be losing games to games like even that you
Yes.
yeah.
Like I think it's definitely been an interesting journey through Round, and I think that I'm one very thankful and very grateful for the things I've been able to do slash the things I am continuously trying to do and like the work I'm trying to put into myself, not only physically but mentally, in terms of really trying to hone my own mental going into, especially this year with the world selection and trying to put myself in the best position to make the team. And I think that it's like you kind of said it yourself where like you have the self image of like you have a image to represent and to keep pushing forwards, and like the moment you start like letting go and like letting off, you start questioning your own self-image and you start questioning like how is X gonna think of me, how is Y gonna interpret this, how is Z gonna feel about me losing this game.
Mhm.
And I think that um being aware of how you feel is very important to understanding how to improve on that. I think that um like those pressured moments, like well, for example, I think that there's a lot of tournaments now where I was talking to Ryan Marino about this in Atlanta after during COVID, where if you pretty much right now, if I'm like if I don't win, like I expect myself to win every game, where's the balance between complacency and giving yourself the benefit of the doubt slash like praising yourself? Because I think that that's something I've always very much struggled with slash am improving on over the past
Hmm.
I think year-ish now, where like I put a lot of pressure on myself to really like perform and really execute and really need to win. But at the end of the day, I think that playing to my own pressure and how I see myself is very important to like my own performance in bad or good games, and like treating every single game as like we're playing the best team in the world and we got to just make sure we play up to our own standards.
Yeah, I think I mean even at like lower levels, like I kind of do feel like because I used to run a club at Rutgers for round,
Yeah.
and just like I felt this pressure of like not really not losing, but just not like it's weird because you can't be complacent and let yourself lose, but you also like can't just like win every game by like 10 points so
Yeah.
and be like an asshole. But yeah, and from like more of a competing standpoint, like a point to
Hmm.
point standpoint, when you're about to like receive like a big serve or like a big dig, like
Yeah.
what's actually like going through your head in the moment? Because there's actually research that shows that like when athletes choke, the kind of the part of the brain that's responsible for conscious control kind of becomes more active. Basically, it means that like you're overthinking in the moment, and that movements that are normally automatic, you're like overcomplicating it a lot.
I think that's something I think I very much have dealt with in like the past where like well for one when I'm receiving a serve at 15s or 10s,
Mm-hmm.
like my mental, I think for me, I'm very just like, this is all I do. Like, I've done this 60,000 times in the past. I've done this so many times. I've trained for this. I think I'm one of the best in the world at servicing. And I think that, like, I'm also one of the best in the world at defense as well. And I'm like, trusting my own theory, trusting my own consistency, and trusting my own habits. And like, and frankly, it works out like more often than not, like 9 out of 10 times. And I'm like, this is like something I know I can do. I know I'm confident in, and I know that I can execute well. When it gets to the point, I think this is something I've very much improved on in recent history. But like, there's a point where I spoke to my friends about this, where it's like the moment of like you're about to lose 9 point, or you're about to hold point nine to win.
Mm-hmm.
There was something in my head in the past where I'm like, fuck.
Yeah, there's the thing
Fuck, like
about
shit. Yeah.
Roundnet is like I mean, it's not like a lot of other sports because like there's just inherent breaks in between points
Hmm.
that like makes it easy for you to overthink. I mean, for
It
me
makes
as
it easy for
a
you to
player,
mentally just like,
yeah,
yeah,
I I overthink so much, especially like if I'm not like winning off the jump sometimes even like I start
the
like
whole,
yeah,
the whole,
it's like it's a rabbit hole of like
yeah.
doom and gloom. And then or it's like you're up big and then they're like coming back and you're just thinking about all these what if scenarios and everything like that. Um and yeah, I mean I think it makes sense that you kind of really trust yourself because you train so hard and I'm sure it's also like natural for you at this point. But a lot of would you say that more so like the defensive play style that you carry with your image as a roundup player is more due to reaction or like prediction? Because another study kind of shows that like top performers aren't actually reacting faster, they're just better at predicting about what's going to happen. And I feel like with defense it's more just so like yeah, you got to be in the right spot initially, but then like where is the line between prediction and like reaction on defense?
In my mind, 95% of that 95% of I think my defensive success is absolutely from the theory that I build and the theory that I practice.
Mm,
The 5%, I don't know if the percentage is correct, but like nothing I do is possible defensively if I don't follow what I think is true. What I don't think, what I think I trust. And I think that a big part of needing to set yourself up, you and your partner up for success is really based on one, being on the same page, and two, understanding the defense you guys are playing. I think that with my theory and what I've coached my friends with, or I guess like the like especially the Northeastern Club, a lot of the players that I've spoken to, like they ask me questions about like how should they play defense and what I think about what they're doing and like what I think I'm doing correctly and why I think I'm one of the best at defense. Um, it really comes down to the setup because I think in this case the word prediction I think is very much from a setting yourself up for a consistent defensive set as in like defensive scheme, if that makes sense,
mhm.
where you have a job and you and your like I'm a firm believer that if you practice your defensive theory, your defensive scheme, and you practice execute it at a high success rate, not necessarily saying that you get the touch as your parameter of success, more so your ability to converge and to close in and to set you and your partner up for the best um defensive percentage of opportunity of success, you will in the long run get more touches than someone who doesn't do that.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess, wow, that's actually really interesting. I think that helps me consciously because a lot of the times, like when I think like I watch you guys play and I'm like, damn, like there's just something like genetically different between me and you. Like our muscle twitch fibers. And then you telling me that it's like 95% theory, like it helps my conscience a lot. Um,
No, I very much think that um like the only way people can be good at defense is if they understand exactly what you and your partner are doing and the jobs that you guys have to execute. And in addition to that, the sport is a two-person sport. You don't need to cover everything as a single player, and you have a job to your own defensive positions and your defensive angles that you were supposed to cover. And that angle and the your angle and your distance from the net are both very correlated to what the offense is doing in their moments of I guess trying to put the ball away. And I think once you put yourself in the best position possible to cover the shots that you need to cover, that's where the reaction comes in, and that's where like your ability to get close, you need to be far, but you understand the shots that you're supposed to cover and how to basically that's where you need to react and you've set yourself up for the best possible success rate. Now it's just up to you to touch the ball.
right.
Of course, people hit great shots, and like, but the thing is like give the same person the same 1%, 2% shot, and let's see if they hit it 100 in a row out of 100.
Mhm. And
Like
yeah,
I do, yeah. Go ahead.
like yeah, I mean, I was gonna say, I mean, I know this from my own defensive theory, but I kind of picture like relative to where the player is to the net and the set, relative to that too. Like
Hmm.
there's like a base, like a softball like thing. Like they have a range.
Yeah.
Like it's like kind of like a triangle kind of range
Yes. Yes. Yes.
sometimes.
Yes.
Yeah, and then it's just about taking away those options and then playing percentages off of that. And I think Roundnet is a lot of like theory, but like you said, it's also a lot of like a lot of training with just doing this 60,000 times over and over again and then getting your body used to that.
Hmm.
And even though it is really easy to overthink in the times when you're not playing, like in those breaks, like eventually when the score is called, like you can allow those kinds of the memories to take over and then just the practice that you've had to take over. I think that's really effective. Um,
Yeah. I think that a big part. Okay, so I have two things I always tell my friends slash that I like help with in terms of them trying to get better. Like people very much have a parameter for how good they are based on a good set, a good hit, a good serve, a good yada 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 about any of these skills that people do in Roundnet.
mhm.
The question I always ask is the fact that like with this X skill, I will make do the exact same
I
thing
know what you're gonna ask.
500 times.
Uh,
500 times.
I know what you're
No,
gonna say.
yeah. It's like how many times out of 500 times are you going to do the exact same thing successfully?
Mhm,
And that's where the best players strive.
mhm,
Like how many times do you do the same thing? Are you succeeding out of X amount of times? And I think
exactly.
that's such a big thing that people I think don't understand, especially with like defense and especially with just like generally their own skill level. Like you can hit one great serve.
Mhm.
You've gapped the person. The next point you're calling 920. Like do we care if we ace the person at 920?
Yeah.
Um oh oh I hit a great set, but you've botched the last three. Like
Mhm.
that's something that like I really strive to make sure my friends and people I coach understand is that that's super important to understand like why it's important to follow consistent behavior. And also like in practice in training you can obviously boost the ceiling, but I think a lot of it is just boosting your floor. I think that like that's the main proponent of why people why people play pickup. It's the fact that like you want to be more consistent, and I think that like people are doing their own things on their own time to increase their ceiling. But I think the biggest skill of like why players are better than other people's is their ability to boost their floor and what their floor consists of.
That's a conversation that I feel like not enough people have in the Roundnet community, especially because there's so
Yeah,
many like the way that like people who don't know this sport like see like these highlight reels and these clips and they think like, oh, like, this is just how it is all the time. In reality, it's not.
not yeah.
And like I know that in my definition of the difference between, for those who don't know, there's like different tiers of players that we like to refer to. Like one is contender, and then the one above that is premier or like semi-pro, I
Mhm.
like to call it.
Mhm.
And I think the main difference between those two tiers is just consistency, right?
Pretty
Um,
much.
pretty
I
much.
th you know
I
no no
mean,
no no
maybe
no
maybe you
no
have a
no
different
no
take.
no no. I know as a pretty much I think that like that is correct. I think the one thing I tell people if
Hmm.
you're going to win contender, literally it's a game of making less mistakes. There's literally like as like from the worst player to the best player, it gets in like from bottom to like contenderish to getting premier. It's can you put a good serve on and can you make less mistakes than your opponents?
Hmm.
If you do that, you will win.
Yeah.
Then you start getting to the realm of can I force a bad touch? Can I force a bad set? Can I make them try to make the same exact hard play multiple times? And that's when you start getting to the pro level, the high pro level, and like the national team level, where like these players are making these like really incredible plays at a really high peak. But can we keep making them do that over and over to the point where they start making those mistakes and
Gotcha.
or making bad hits or bad sets, etc.
And I'm also interested to see how mistakes play in at the higher level. And, obviously, for those that don't know, there's a minimum of 21 points to a game. And for you, like after a mistake that you might make, especially a big one, like what do you do to kind of reset, to kind of clear that headspace? Because you can't like kind of dwell on these mistakes, right? Do you have any kind of like routine that like between points or like anything you go back to mentally?
I think I think a lot of what I do and when I make those mistakes, one, I definitely get upset. I definitely get like wow, I can't believe I did that.
Hmm.
But I think a big thing you need to do in the moment is this isn't a one person sport. Your partner depends on you and your partner really needs you to lock in and needs you to trust them. One mistake does not dictate a game and you can very much get that point back. And I think that one, trusting my practice and trusting my own training is one of the biggest proponents of what I do in those moments. Like I made a mistake, does not matter. We need to keep going. We need to keep striving to move forwards. And there isn't anything else you can do in that other than do that. Like there is I think that I've made enough mistakes in my time to basically be like, I understand I made a mistake. I'm very much aware of my own skill level and like what that mistake is in terms of my skill level, that like look out to make sure that the next point doesn't do that. And I think
Yeah.
that like I don't really do any sort of deep breaths or anything or like mentally in the moment being like a routine in that sense. But what I do is basically understand that I trust myself and I trust my abilities and I'm confident in myself.
Yeah,
And I
that's
think
great to hear.
yeah.
I would say like, yeah, I mean, understanding that trust is really the main core concept that you use, like trust within, the game itself, the fact that there's so many points, so many opportunities to get that kind of mistake back. Trust with your teammate and trust with your own self, just how many times you've done this before. That being said, Roundnet, I mean, it can get really streaky, especially with the like the how offensively driven the game is with the
Yes,
serves,
sir.
the hitting,
Yes, yes,
and
yes, sir.
momentum kind of swings really fast. So when the other team is kind of going on a run, like what are you focusing on? Are you trying to stop the momentum with like timeouts? I mean, like how do you use like your timeout in a game? And like what are you kind of thinking when like the other person is like making a comeback or like they're like on a streak, you know?
One, um, that's that's very much that's a very valid question, especially in the scheme of like of this sport. I think that timeouts honestly are very overlooked, and I think that people don't use them enough. And I think that is something I personally do. To like, especially when they get a few breaks in a row, and like that, you feel the momentum shift. Like a timeout is very much. I always use a timeout in those cases. Um, and I think that when people are on those runs, it's I think there is a tendency in some people to start changing how they do things or start changing how they set, how they hit, how they play defense because they're like scared or like they're more like this is gonna happen because I'm not there or etc. I think that it's really important to understand that you need to stay with your own mental and trust your own self. I think that it all comes down to how much you boost that floor. And I think that like it's really important to understand that like the training that you do has prepared you for the moment and to trust that. And I think that the one thing I always preach to my friends and why tournaments are so important is the fact that you can't train the moment. There's no way you can the moment as in like 1919 in the finals of a really big moment.
Mm-hmm.
You can't train that. That's something you like cannot physically do in like your free time.
Yeah.
The pressure that your heart beating, the sweat dripping down your hands, the atmosphere of people watching you, and like it's so hard to like you can try to replicate the environment, but you're not going to. Like until it's like in the moment of needing to step up.
Yeah.
Um, I think yeah, I think especially with the needing to step up, especially when your opponent's on a run, I think it's 1 point really does change a lot about like you the like the tempo and the feeling and the environment of your game, and all you need to do is win at 1 point, and then you're back into what you're doing. Like either holding an like having a really good hold, getting a break against that pressure. For example, like I think in Atlanta, me and Lucas, my partner, we were playing Rogue, which is if people know around it, some of the best players in the
World.
world slash I think they're the two players that most of the community knows that they are locks for the USA team this year.
Yeah.
We first game we went down I think 8-1 and they hit four aces on us bang 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 and then we were like we're down 8-1. There's
Mm-hmm.
nothing we could do here other than just play our game and do what we do best. They end up calling a timeout at 10-13 when we were winning 13-10. We went on a whatever 12-2 run
Mm.
and that is only possible if you trust yourself and trust in your abilities. Because momentum obviously isn't a statistical thing. It's just it's an emotion. It's a feeling, and it's whether or not you can take that momentum, like that momentum that's against you, and push back as hard as you can on it, and trust yourself and play it to your best of your abilities.
I think I'm seeing like a sort of pattern here. Like I think you're kind of alluding to this trust in like well trust in general, but also the trust in like the law of large numbers. How like I mean in a bracket game, it's three games. I mean it could be it's a best of three.
Yeah.
Each game to 21, no cap, right? And
Yes,
if
sir.
you're really highlighting this, emphasizing this idea of trust in your abilities and in your teammates' abilities, which is how you defined it as like consistency
Hmm.
and just like pick up past training and everything like that. And like you gave that rogue example, and I want you to kind of walk me through that. Like it was probably recently, maybe some of the most high pressure like round that you've played.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
what was your like attention on like in the beginning of the game, in the middle of the game, and then at the later portions of the game? Like were they like was it like constant like, or did your focus kind of shift at different stages of the game?
Do you know the scores of that series, by the way?
I know one game was like ridiculous. So like for people that don't know, I mean,
That was
yeah, like what
no, no.
games usually go to 21, and I think one game went to like 40 something,
40-38. That
40.
sucked.
Yeah.
That sucked. Um, yeah, so that was a very interesting game that I've actually never experienced before. Um, but pretty much to answer the first question of like walking you through like where your attention starts goes, I don't think for me like there isn't anything different that I do between each serve receive, each anything.
Mhm,
Like I do adapt over time to like the server and what how their fakes look, how their swings look, how their what they're swinging and like how what is the cadence of what they're doing in their swing. And I
mhm,
think that especially against two of the best servers in the world, they like they're phenomenal players. I don't think anyone could disagree with me on that. Where they're hitting these like spinny angled serves where it's so important for you to trust. Like for me, it's literally like trust in what I think is the true way you should serve receive and execute that at the highest level possible because you need to be at the highest level possible against those guys.
mhm,
Um, but once the ball's in play and I receive a ball or we're defending the times where we got beat and I felt that like it wasn't because they hit a phenomenal shot was in the I didn't do what I thought I should have done in the moment. And
mm,
I think that that comes with the mindset and like the defensive consistency to execute your set, to execute your scheme. And I think that that's something I didn't do in those moments and that's why we lost the point or didn't put ourselves in the best position to win the point. Because I'm not saying that if I was there, we would have gotten the touch or we would have gotten the point. But the more times I'm putting myself in the best position will increase the odds that in the long run we will win more points.
I kind of like how you're like looking back on like those points that you missed and not thinking about like, oh well, it was just like unwinnable, like instead of like, oh, like, it was like a some flaw in how I executed my defensive scheme. And also I would like to kind of point out one more like study. There's also some research that suggests that in these kind of high pressure moments, athletes kind of experience like time differently. Like I don't know if you notice that phenomenon. Like either like everything kind of speeds up or it feels like it slows down at certain points when you're locked in. Certainly for you, I imagine that like maybe not time like, seems different, but like everything just makes more sense. Like things flow, shit flows together like better. Did you kind of experience that there?
Um, Against them, especially in the 40-38 game, I very much felt a shift in like where my footwork was, and I felt that everything did slow down. I think that especially with them serving to me, especially when we're in overtime. I mean, if people aren't aware, in overtime they changed it where you serve to the same person every time you serve. So you'll instead of getting two serves per um in this new equal serving format where with rotations, you only serve one to the same person over and over again. And it's
Mm,
very rare for this to happen, but I got served to by the same person 20 times. I actually don't no 10 times, sorry, 10 times. And like over time, you definitely get used to things, but like throughout that series, I really felt that like I was really conscious of what I was doing footwork wise and hammer wise. I think that you're like, I am, like, I think I guess to I guess relate to that question. There's two moments in my past where I've truly felt that time slow down and my like instinct slash senses just like peaked in like understanding what I was doing.
mm,
Um, the first time was when I won my first pitcher, and like, frankly, I haven't won a pitcher in a minute, and I really need to get on that. But about like 2 years ago, when I won my first with my friend Connor,
mm,
um, I was receiving the point at 1920, ironically against the exact same team that I'm talking about in this 40-38 game. But they were coming off a really hot year and they were pretty much already locked into the Worlds team, kind of like
mm.
this year as well. But like they were known as like the top one team by like not even close. And I remember, I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right, but it was like 8 p.m. under the lights. I'm receiving the last point, like 1920. If we win that point, we win the entire tournament. Is it vignette? Like it's like
Oh,
the
yeah, yeah.
feeling,
Like
that
it's
black
the
feeling of like
black.
shat. Like yeah, I
Yeah,
felt that live, and I'm like, holy.
yeah.
I'm like, what is happening? But like the crowd, like the people around me like quiet down, and I hear him say the score, and I'm like, yes, and I feel this like feeling of like this condensed feeling, and I'm like, holy, this is so interesting, and then that was like a moment where I felt super just like either my body was just like controlling itself, but I've really felt like so I've never felt so in my life. And the
Mm.
second one was in Argentina when I was serving um to go a break ahead in game three to like win like a Pan American championship with another friend Kyle and getting to looking at the ball and getting my hand around it and putting the spin and serve I want on it was such a interesting and easy feeling where like I was just like fully in the moment and like immersed in like what I was doing.
I'm just gonna say something real quick.
Mhm.
This is not something to do with those two experiences, but I
Yeah.
I was watching your Kieran's video. You think you guys played in New York, and it was like a final against like Sam or something like
Oh,
that.
that's Boston. That's Boston.
Boston. Oh, okay, Boston.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I remember Kevin Chen, right? And
I love Kevin. I love
I
Kevin.
I went to McCarran like I think it was like Thanksgiving, and then I was like, yeah, I think Sonny's the best player in the world. And he's like, really? That'd be a hot take. And I'd be like, how's that
Yeah.
a hot take? And he'd be like, yeah, most people would say Connor Nelson, which makes sense.
Connor. I firmly think I'm one of the best, but I think that I have Connor as one of the top two players in my opinion.
Mm.
Yeah.
Now kind of like grounding it all down on
Yeah.
to the more like lower level
I do
questions.
appreciate that. I appreciate that. Thank you.
No, you're good. Like I'm just being honest from what I saw. I was like, I've never seen anyone move like that and also like be able to serve someone. So like
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
for someone like that's more amateur listening to this who
Mhm.
also struggles with pressure in sports, like what's the first thing you tell them to like work on? Like
I mean, I don't know if you can tell from what I've been saying, but I think that in as someone who's newer to a sport, the only way to deal with that pressure and deal with um the ability of needing to perform under pressure is to trust in what you're doing.
right.
And in order to trust in what you're doing, you need to understand you can do it and you do it well. If you've done it once or twice and your percentage of doing it well is at like 10%, of course you're not going to understand how to do it in the moment.
Mhm.
But if you're doing it in practice and doing it on your own at a high peak, why can't you do it under pressure? And the only way, because like for example, in the NBA and in the like these guys shoot at I don't know how many threes in practice and how many of them they make. Sure, like for example, like I mean Curry, like he shoots at probably like 90% of his 95% of his three pointers in practice.
Mhm.
But like, what does he actually shoot in game? But the reason why he shoots so much in game and he puts himself in such interesting positions to finish and to execute is for how much he practices and he refines and he perfects his craft. That's why he does it. That's why people are able to perform at such a high level. People of that level will play pickup games and shoot the lights out in the gym, but when it gets into the moment under the lights and under at a primetime game, they're not able to perform at the same level. But that is only they're only able to play well if their floor and if what they're doing in practice is at that exact same level. And I firmly believe that practice very much makes your like makes allows you to perform in those moments.
I think you bring these notions of floor and ceiling
Yes.
like a lot, and I think that's a really good point. I think I used to make this mistake too, where I just identify like I also think a big part of it is just like self-identity, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I think back when I would like I would play off highlights and I wouldn't really care about defense. Like I would like think of myself, my skill level as my ceiling, right? And instead of my floor or instead of my baseline. Like I
Yeah.
think of like, okay, how good am I? Well, I hit this, I know I gapped this person on a reverse, so I'm that's just what I do, you know? And
Yes.
that's not the case, you know? So just like
Yes.
grounding yourself and understanding like even if I think if you take even just something like Roundnet player rating or just like taking stats of a game. Like that is really eye-opening, even if it's like somewhat flawed right now. So yeah.
It is I also agree with the flawed aspect, but it is a good way to identify what you're doing in games and how you're playing and like what you can do better and like why you're losing games or why you're winning games. And like for example, if you win games, if you win a few games based on a high of an ace rate, that is not going to be a good identifier of like what exactly you are doing as like a floor slash like what how you are as a player. Because like
Mm.
aces, frankly, are pretty sporadic in terms of like they're not a good identifier with like if you're constantly applying break pressure, that's different from getting aces, in my opinion, where like you are able to put yourselves in moments and put yourselves in understanding like you were able to hit these at a consistent peak rather than like I've hit that one reverse that got the shit out of this person, but we're now serving 920. Like those things are super important to understanding like what do I need to work on like I want to make sure all of my games aren't like a fluke in that aspect, and like I want to make sure that the level I'm playing at is always at a was this is this just who I am as a player, or was it something that I like did well in a moment rather than like doing well in like 500 reps?
Right. I understand. I do kind of want to kind of end it so much soon, and I will say that
Yeah.
like in my opinion, like pressure just doesn't create new players. Like it doesn't mean that it more so reveals what's already there. Like you said, the trust in your teammate, the trust that you have in yourself, the hours that you put in, and really it's just a question about whether you can trust it when it matters the most. And I do kind of also want to give a shout out to one of my classmates, podcast promos. She has a thing about fact or fiction where she kind of goes into um, like whether things like that you see off social media are actually true or not. So I kind of want to shout that out as well. And thank you, Sonny, for so much for
Oh,
this opportunity.
stop it. Stop
I
it. Of
feel like,
course.
I mean, actually, it's funny because now that we have this time, I'm officially ending it there.
Right, right, right.
But like my first interaction with any pro player, even though Gabe lives in New Jersey, was actually with Kieran
Yeah.
because he came to one of the New Jersey tournaments when he was with the Lemon Lads.
Yes.
And I talked to him and I got his phone number and then he'd send me serving clips and then I'd ask him questions about like, oh, how do you do this? How do you do this? And he was just like so nice. And I really do appreciate how like kind you guys are to
Oh,
like just
stop.
anyone.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think a big thing in this community is the fact that like people are always willing to help and people are always willing to like shed advice. And I think that especially when I was getting better, it was like I really want to make sure that I produce an environment where like people don't feel scared to talk to me because I'm me. And that feels weird to say because that's such a weird I hate that thing. Like hate saying that, but like I don't the reason I always like if someone like thanks me for something, I'm always like stop. You don't need to thank me. Like it's like
Yeah.
we're producing an environment of like, oh, like this is like super chill. Like you really don't, it's not like something that like I don't want people to be like, it's a privilege to like, or it's like I'm so fortunate to do this. Like, no, it's like I want you to understand that like I want to help and I appreciate you for asking and having the courage to ask me something for advice or something, yada yada yada.
Yeah, and I think
Yeah.
I hope you don't mind. I kind of want to post this to like my club chat or like maybe even just
Please,
to
please
like
do. Please
future
do. Please,
forums
please do.
because I want people to hear this and then especially the part you said about like defense being like 95% of theory, just be like, yeah, it's just developing your own like system. It's not even about like just some people being better than others at like genetically or anything like that or reaction time. It's
Yeah,
so just about like experience and training.
absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, I hope you enjoy watching the playoffs with them. I'm probably gonna do the same with my friends too.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We'll be hyped.
All right. Well, I'll see you, Sonny. Thank you so
Of
much.
course. Okay. If you also have any questions or like anything, always talk to me. Like my line is open. Like, do not feel like you can't text me. Okay.
Okay, yeah, I'll just shoot you a DM on Instagram for sure.
For sure. For sure. All right.
All right, peace out.
See you,
Thank you.
Ruben. See you. Bye.